Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Hi everybody, welcome to ZBTR TV. It is Saturday, February the 11th. What an exciting show that we have for you today. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are joining us. We're so glad that you could do this. Hey, do me a favor like we did last weekend. Tell me or tell us where you're watching us from or where you're following us from so that we know. We get excited. We want to see all the people that have joined us today from the provinces because we are talking youth fighting corruption. That's our topic today. It's exciting. It's February. It's Valentine. It's my birthday month. It's exciting. A lot of things happening here. And now in America, this weekend is Super Bowl weekend. It's a big deal. It's a big issue. It's a big event. It's a mammoth event. I believe it's followed globally. The interest is global and everybody's excited about it. Now, why do I bring in the Super Bowl in a discussion like this? As magnitude as the Super Bowl is, that is how big and how corruption affects the world. Every level, every individual, no exceptions, no whatever. That's how. So the youth will be talking to us about corruption. My special guest today is the one and only Miss Zambia 2022-2023, Miss Natasha Mapulanga. Natasha. Hi.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
Welcome to the show. What took you so long to be here?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to blame Auntie Frida for taking so long.
Yeah, today she takes the blame for everything, right?
Takes the blame, yes.
So, welcome to the show, Natasha.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And thank you for doing this. You won the Miss Zambia, I believe is it 2020. You are Miss Zambia 2022-2023. That's right?
That's right.
Okay. So how did you develop interest in pageantry and how did you navigate your way through this?
All right. So first of all, I just wanted to thank you so much, Ms. Dankama, for having me on the show. I am very honored. I am humbled and I am absolutely grateful. And because we're here to talk about everything corruption, I just want to take the time before we delve into it to thank all the sponsors that we had during the pilot show, which were Zanaco, the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, the Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC, the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC. We also had the Irish Embassy, we had Diamond TV, we had AGA Africa, among so many other sponsors that I have not mentioned, but thank you so much to all the sponsors that came on board, and especially to ZLA, Auntie Frida, and the entire team. So excellent. How I got into pageantry, I started quite young. I remember I was in grade 6. First of all, I saw it was America's Next Top Model. Yes. It was America's Next Top Model, and I saw Tyra Banks, and I was very fascinated by the entire show and what the models used to do, the posing and the catwalks. And growing up, I think the following year after that, in grade 7, there was a pageant at my school there, in my primary school, which was Zippers High School. So I said I was going to do it, but at that time I
Okay.
hadn't known the difference between pageantry, high fashion modeling, and commercial modeling,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a huge difference and a lot of people are not aware. So I was also like that back then. So I entered the
So those again, pageantry. Mm-hmm.
pageantry, which also has a bit of modeling in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's high fashion, that's
High
where you see the,
fashion.
yes, when you hear Milan Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, that's high fashion.
Okay.
And when you hear
And the
commercial
other
modeling,
one?
commercial modeling.
Mm. Oh, wow.
So that
Cool.
one
I'm learning
involves,
something here. Mm.
that's great. So the commercial modeling aspect is where models work for brands to sell a product. So for here in Zambia, I would say maybe I'm advertising a soap by Trade Kings. You know, if you hire me to sell, maybe you've built a product and you're trying to sell it and you want me to model the product. That's commercial modeling because you pay
Okay.
me to sell your product. Yes. So going into
Mm.
that, I didn't know the difference, and I entered the pageant, and I was Miss Personality, so I didn't take the actual title. I went to senior secondary school, and I also competed in the same school until I finally won. And so growing up, I've always entered pageants, and when I got to learn about the modeling, I learned the differences. I I was blessed enough to do all three. The commercial modeling was good because I used to get paid for it. High fashion was also
Okay.
fantastic because I get paid for it. And the pageantry side for me is where my heart really resonated because it's all about giving back to your community. And the whole essence of pageantry is if you say you're beautiful, you need to show us how you're beautiful. So, how are you helping your community? How are you giving back to the world? How are you making your
Mm.
existence an addition of value to the entire world or your society in whatever small way? And that really sat well with me. And I think that's the kind of person I am, also coming from a family of people who are very kind. I think it's in my
Mm-hmm.
blood to always want to help out. So that's how I got into the modeling and I stuck with the pageantry. And I'm so glad I landed the Miss Zambia title because it's the biggest title in our country.
Oh yeah, good job and congratulations. Now you mentioned that you were interested in this as young as when you were in the sixth grade. How did your family respond to this? How did mom and dad and everybody? Because I
So,
know culturally Zambia,
yes.
did you go through the stuff of umwano you know things like that?
Absolutely. I was not spared of anything of that. I think the people that
Oh,
are growing up now maybe
uh-huh.
exaggerate because parents now are a bit more open. But growing up, my father was very strict and stern, and his priority was education. And I really
Of course.
appreciate it now that I'm
Uh-huh.
grown. Because when I was young, I thought he was a hindrance. I was thinking, why does this man hate me? Why is he against my development? I did not
Ah.
understand it at that time, but education is absolutely important. It is not just for you to, important for you to be educated. It's just so even when you go out in society that you help
Mm-hmm.
others, and
Mm-hmm.
you can only do that when you're well informed, and education provides you that opportunity.
Yeah,
So
it's
my
true.
father was very, very strict. So every time I had an opportunity to go and work somewhere, oh, I have to do this, have to do, I had to tell him a week in advance. I had to
Uh-huh.
tell him what brand. I had to tell him the times.
Oh
I had
my
to tell him who
goodness.
was providing transport to and from. And everything always had to happen over the weekends, not school days. And if it was too late, then I even knew not to take the job because my father was never going to agree with it. So it would hurt me so much to miss out on money, like I miss out on money, because I knew my father would never accept such a thing. My mom, on the other hand, was neutral. She
Mm.
supported me, but also she couldn't go against her husband. So
Of
she was a
course. What are you
bit
talking about? She's not gonna do that.
exactly. So she would support me, and in situations where I so desperately needed to get a job done, I would beg
Mm.
her to be the mediator between myself and my dad. Sometimes it
Okay.
worked, sometimes it did not, but she was also very strong and stern about education. So she was only supportive as long as it did not disturb my school program.
So, for the sake of coming clean and letting everybody know that you did go to school and got an education, because I know my generation, when we're growing up, those things were people are if kopom class. You know what I'm trying
That's
to
true.
say?
Yes, absolutely.
So I just want you to say you tell everybody what university you went to and the degree you graduated with.
Okay, so I went to Mulungushi University. It's
Mhm.
in Kawe, and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in international relations and development.
Excellent. So everybody, people who do pageantry modeling, they fikopo you.
That was the trickle part.
You let me quote. I quote this from your bio, and I
Mhm.
want to uh, quote. You entered the pageant to bring about social change and to help bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. End of quote. So you were crowned Miss Zambia 2022-2023. Share with us what your strategy for actualizing your vision has been.
So I've been blessed enough to have numerous opportunities present themselves.
Mm,
I initially worked within my resources to give back to the community. I'm extremely passionate about the Ubuntu spirit and Zambians moving together and progressing together as one.
mm,
Unfortunately, our economic, social, and cultural status does not allow for all of us to move in sync. So in Zambia, we have the haves and the have-nots. There's no in between.
yeah,
Um,
huge gap.
a huge gap. And it's really sad for me to get on a bus and find cowboys fighting for Etu Kwacha just so they can raise money for the day so they can go back home and feed their families plus themselves. So the situation of hand to mouth is really sad. My
Mm,
strategy throughout my reign and before my reign was the menstrual hygiene. And now I am an ambassador and a champion for fighting against corruption because it is the cancer that is detrimental to society, and not just our society, every
mhm,
society,
mhm.
not just in Africa, but the entire world. So
Yes,
I've been fortunate.
like we said, it's a global thing. Mm,
It's a global thing, yes. So I've been fortunate enough to partner with Auntie Frida, who is the president of Zambians Promoting Leadership in America. So I had the opportunity to be appointed the ambassador to fight against corruption. It was an honor for me, and it's one of the gate or platforms that I've been accorded to help visualize my dreams and my
mm,
plans. Outside of that, the Mizambi organization
and
has
it's one of the gate of
so part in addition to that, the Mizambia organization has also been supportive with my menstrual hygiene. Um, what I do is I'm an activist, and my goal is to end period poverty. So
Mm-hmm.
what we do is we donate menstrual cups to young girls, especially in rural areas, because they do not have the financial capacity to always buy sanitary towels. And whether you believe it or not, there are some young girls who do not go to school because in that week she cannot afford to buy sanitary towels and her parents do not have the money to help her. So she stays home,
Wow.
she lags behind. I know it's extremely sad. She lags behind while the boys are learning. And when you go back to school the following week or the following month, the teachers don't necessarily have that impetus to repeat lessons, and you can understand their conditions as well. So you lag behind, you find, oh, girls are failing in mathematics, girls are failing in science. It's not because that they're not intelligent. It's just there's so many social and cultural issues that hinder them from that, because on top of her frustrating not having the towels to use, she also has to be home, she has to cook, she has to clean, and all these other things.
Mm.
So far I've been blessed enough by these organizations to implement my what I would call projects that are close to my heart.
Okay, excellent. One of the things we do here is, Dr. Frida will tell you that everybody watching our regular, as you are speaking, people are sending me messages. They are interested in what you're doing. Okay. Here's a question from a very strong supporter of this program. How much do those towels cost in Zambia?
So they vary according to the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Always packs, there's like about 16 of them. Those are like 40 to 50 kwacha. There's Angel Care now. They have 10 packs in them. Those now most of the time go for 7, 8 kwacha. And I know there's Cortex as well, which goes between 20, 30, 40 kwacha. So
Okay.
the high end brands are about 30, between 30 and 50 kwacha.
30 and 50 kwacha. So
Yes.
they are in packs, right?
Yes, they're in packs. And so the cheaper ones are between 7 and 15 or 20 kwacha. And usually the packs are 10 of them. And sometimes, depending on the girl's flow, she might need more than 10, depending on how long her menstruation goes on for. So sometimes one pack is not enough. Sometimes for one person, one pack is enough. And things.
What we shall do is at the end of the program, because we need to jump into corruption very quickly. At the end of the program, I'm going to put your email on the screen so that those that are interested in supporting your project and whatever work you're doing, they can get in touch with you. Very quickly, let's look at these pictures and then you tell us what is going on here. Okay.
All right.
All right. Where was this? I like the uniforms for the girls.
Yes, so this was at Litete Primary School. It's in Chibombo, which is a central part of Zambia. We had just donated about 107 or 5 menstrual cups. Yes.
Excellent.
Right.
Is this the same place?
No, this is my former high school, Arakan Girls Secondary School. I was so happy to go back.
So nice of you to go back there and do something.
Yes, it felt so amazing. So this was in partnership with UBA, Bank UBA, and we donated some books for literature. I think it's important to cultivate a reading culture in our country, because that's not very common, especially with social media and people always being on their phones making TikToks. Not saying there's anything wrong with TikTok, but I think it's also important that as much as we use social media, that we equally read as much from our books. It's very enriching, mind enriching.
That's true. Was this at the same event?
Yes, it was.
Okay, all right. And then the final one, this.
All right. So this was at the pilot workshop that we had from the 30th of November to the 2nd of December 2022. It was African Youth Against Corruption, and our theme was shifting the mindset of the youth with regards to fighting corruption. I was next to Grace Ramsey, who was one of the ambassadors, as well as Maza Comedy, who was also part of the entire pilot. So this was such an amazing experience. I hope we'll get into it as we keep talking.
Yes, we're getting into that right now. What we need to do. Let's watch this video.
Okay. Hello there. My name is Natasha Mapulanga, your Miss Zambia 2022. Now, being Miss Zambia allows me to voice my opinion on several things. And here today, I'm here to talk to you about corruption. Now, corruption tends to erode the trust that we have in our controlling elements of government. It also erodes the trust that we have in the system that is set to protect us. If you're against corruption, I think each and every one of us should be and should speak about it, because this is our land, and we, especially the youth, are in charge of our future and the direction that our country takes. So I'm against corruption. Are you? Because chino chalo chesu.
Excellent. All right. That's Okay, let's get rid of this picture.
Okay.
All right. So my question to you after everybody watches that video is how did you assume the role of ambassador in the youth fighting corruption?
It's a bit of a long story, but I'll make it short. When competing for the Miss Zambia pageant,
Mm-hmm.
I, we were contacted by Auntie Chanda, who is also part of the ZLA team. She contacted me and asked me. At that point, they were having conference in Livingston about Zambians in the diaspora. I should think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So she contacted me, and we're supposed to make posts about that and do all those things. Fast forward after my coronation, Auntie Chanda reached out and she suggested the pilot to me, and I
Mm.
was very open and happy that I was even considered. And when we got into it, after that, Auntie Frida, who is Dr. Brazil, I'll keep calling them aunties because now they're family to me, and we've created such a good rapport. And as
That's
much as
good.
I look up to them, thank you. As much as I look up to them, they're very close to my heart, and every time they come up, my heart is warmed because the family thing is there. So I'll keep saying aunties.
Trust me, I know them. They are my
Okay,
sisters. So they are
lovely.
dangerously wonderful ladies.
Absolutely. So Auntie Frida asked me after the pilot if I was okay with being the champion and the face for the youth
Mm-hmm.
fighting corruption. And I was so overwhelmed. And I cannot explain it, but I got right into it. It was a direct yes, honestly speaking.
Excellent. All right. Corruption, Natasha, is broad, widespread, presents itself in different forms at different levels. Okay. What strategy are you using with the youth?
Okay, so I like that you said it's quite broad,
Hmm.
um, which is very true. So we targeted the youth because they are the mid gateway between the elderly people and the
Mm-hmm.
young people. So when the elderly people, because our pensionable age was moved from 55 to 60, so we still have elderly people that are still working as civil servants, whether in the public sector or the private sector, they're still working, right? And a youth is someone that's considered between the age of 18 to 35 in Zambia, even though it's different according to the United Nations. But in Zambia, it's between 18 and 35. So the youth are an important element for us to use because they are the future leaders of tomorrow. They're also part of the solution changing now because
Mm.
they have an active role to play in deciding how their lives will be determined, right? And they
Mm.
also in the same breath have the right actually to mold the young people that are growing up based off of their actions today, because the younger ones that are coming will be the ones that will be the youths 10, 20 years from now. So the youth are vital um tool that we're
Yes.
using. And because it's the youth, the first thing that we want to do is shift the mindsets. And that
Okay.
is our theme. Because corruption, let me not even say corruption, anything that you want to do, before you can achieve that, it starts from here.
Oh
So
yeah.
your mind is where everything begins from. That's where you brew all your dreams and then you actualize them when you take action. So we've realized that for the most part, some youths are very nonchalant when it comes to government resources, the economic status of the country, which affects a lot of people. But some youth don't necessarily see that as important. As long as they're okay during the day, they go by in the night, and the week goes by, they're fine. What we want to do is to make the youth understand that corruption starts with you, it ends with you, it involves you, whether you've
Mm.
taken part in any corrupt practice or not, because at the end of the day, the corrupt practices that go on, they affect each and every person. It trickles down to each and every person because of that corrupt practice. You take away a lot of opportunities from other
Yes.
people
Mm.
because of that. So mindset shift is very important to us. And because of that, that's exactly what we concentrated on during the pilot. We had seminars to make the youth understand what it is to be Zambian, our culture,
Mm.
and we also went in to talk about what corruption really is. And we realized that corruption is so normal in Zambia. It's the smallest things. It's the very, very smallest things. I remember
Mm.
an example that was given was if you want to watch TV and your younger sibling is watching TV, but you want to watch football, but your younger sibling is watching cartoons, and you tell them, I'll buy you sweets. I want to watch football. And they'll run away and they find that normal.
Uh-huh.
But when they continue to grow, they will become manipulative in attaining other things because they've learned that from you. And you find that okay. And if they see that happening, children learn through guided and unguided learning. So it's through your actions and what you say.
Yeah,
They
that's
pick that up
true. That's a
very easy.
brilliant example right there. Brilliant
Yeah.
example about TV, especially
Right.
I know in everybody's crazy about Arsenal, Manchester United, and all
Right.
that stuff. So that can be
Exactly.
a recipe for corruption right there, right? All right,
Yeah.
continue,
Absolutely.
Natasha. Mhm.
Yes, so we wanted to get rid of that mindset where Zambians find corruption normal. It should be unheard of. It should be a taboo to be corrupt in
Mhm.
any way or form.
Mhm.
That's the trajectory we want to attain. So those have been the strategies, and the youth leaders that came from 10 provinces. We had
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 from each province, and now the goal is for them to go back to their provinces and to continue to spread the word, to educate, to inform, so that those people can also pass that down to the other people, the next people, until we create that ripple effect.
Mhm. Excellent. Because you see, the reason I asked about the strategy, Natasha, is the aspect of unemployment is rampant amongst the youths, okay? And joining us, one of the colleagues will be joining us, one of the provincial leaders. So here's a young lady
Mm-hmm.
looking for a job. How are you? I'm sure John can hear me here, even before we put him up on the screen on there. What tools are you putting in the youth's hands? One of the most common things, Natasha, is, especially for you young ladies, if you're looking for a job, it could be a contract, it could be an opportunity for something. And this guy who's trying to offer you this opportunity demands a sexual favor. So, what should the young lady do?
That's such a very sad and true example because these things happen. And there have
Mhm.
been so many situations where women have had to give in their bodies in order for them to get what they want. It's not that they want to, but it happens. And it also happens to be that the vice versa happens, that women will also ask men who are in vulnerable positions for sexual favors.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's just not as common as the opposite.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So what I think is, so what we were teaching at the pilot is that obviously you have to say no. You have to report it because, like we said, everything begins from the mind, right?
Mm.
And you have to be in a position where your mind is stronger than what you're going through, stronger than
You,
what
you
your body.
just said you have to report it. Let's dwell on that. To whom do they report?
So we have the Anti-Corruption Commission. These are oversight institutions that we have in the country.
Mm.
The Anti-Corruption Commission and the Drug Enforcement Commission. So a lot of people think that the Drug Enforcement Commission is just for drugs, but anything to do with money laundering, which is a form of corruption, the DEC deal with that as well.
Maybe they need to
So
change. Maybe they need to change the name or be more active in the community, informing people what they are supposed to do.
I
Because some
think
of
more
us just think
active.
it's drug enforcement, drug enforcement. That's what the name
Yes,
says.
I
Mm.
also thought that before I got informed and educated. I think you're right. There needs to be more information, and the information has to be easily accessible so that
Mm.
people are aware. And that's why I said we need to cultivate a reading culture because if people don't read, they will not access that information. They will
Yeah,
not
that's
even
true.
care for that information. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword where the information providers have to provide it and make sure it's accessible, and the people that are supposed to consume that need to be in a position where they want to consume. So they need to be able to want to read and to be able to look for it to begin with. So going back to the question, you're supposed to report it. So we have oversight institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission and the Drug Enforcement Commission, where you can report such matters to, and they will protect you. Once we cultivate that, you will have so many people who are afraid to commit those heinous crimes because they're afraid. Because they're afraid to be imprisoned, and they're afraid to be used as an example to the many other people that are doing it, right? And on top of that, we just need to get to a point where such things are unheard of, and it's not even a thing to think about or even consider to suggest to someone, and for someone to even think that they should accept it ever. But unfortunately, that's not the case because of the poverty levels in our country. So I think that's
unfortunately, that is the situation we are in. All right, joining us from the great city of Mongo is John. John is a provincial youth leader in Western Province. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
We can't hear you. John, we can't hear you. So the new Don government has denied you people in Western Province Wi-Fi.
You people in Western Province Wi-Fi. Is that what it is?
But I'm getting you now. Are you able to get me now?
No, okay.
Yes.
I guess.
Are you getting me now?
Okay.
Yes.
I guess. Yes, we can. No, I'm getting
Yes,
an
we
echo.
can. No, I'm getting an echo. Is there something on?
No.
Computer or what?
Computer or what?
Nothing is on.
Okay, John.
Okay, John.
Yes, sir.
We have to eliminate this.
I don't know where they say.
So there's an echo coming.
Okay, it's definitely coming from your end. When I take you off the screen, it goes away. Is there something on in your room? A computer
or something? You need to.
I don't think so. Let me check it.
Okay.
Maybe
Derek, help me out here. I don't know what's going on. The question I wanted to ask John, I still ask him when he comes back.
Okay.
I don't know what the new Don government has done with the Wi-Fi in Western Province. That's a joke. I like messing with politicians.
Are you able to
You
get
see,
me now?
John? You see, John? Every time I bring you back, there's an. Okay, let me ask this question. I want to ask John. You can, I'm sure you can. Shifting mindset, youth fighting corruption concept is across the 10 provinces. Okay, how is it working? I know you are engaged with all the leaders in the provinces, Natasha. How is it working? What is going on?
Okay, so luckily for us, once the youth went back to their provinces, they hit the ground running. We have them working with the provincial ministers, the district, in their respective districts. So some of them, what they've done so far, like Northern, Northwestern, Western, and I think Luapula as well, they have started with radio shows where they're going, and they're championing talk on corruption, basically reteaching people what they learned at the pilot. Like I said, there's so much that was taught at the pilot program, from entrepreneurship, from financial literacy to corruption, what it is, how to handle it, the objectives, and all those things. Others have also started debate and quiz clubs that they're using to educate the pupils in their respective schools, and those have also actively been running. They're also partnering with the anti-corruption commission offices within their respective provinces in order for them to give them resources and information.
One of the things I always ask this question when we discuss things like this. Okay, let's see if we are good to go here. You can get the echo, Natasha. You can get the echo, Natasha, right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I don't know. John, I don't know. What you do is log off, log off, and log in again. Log off and log in again.
Okay.
Apart from meetings, seminars, and all these things going on, what other projects are being done? Because, like we are saying, this is a huge project and it involves young people. Okay, I want John to speak to this, especially what Zambia is a very wide country, very wide country. Some people, unfortunately, you yourself said it. Some people, it won't just happen until they give in or they do something on the side. And at the very lowest level of our everyday lives, Natasha, what should the youth do? What should the youth do?
So like I said earlier, it's in the mind, and the education aspect is very important. A lot of people have to be educated, and it's also time for it's a wake-up call to every Zambian, especially the youth, because if we talk about public resources, government revenue, and the spending, we are supposed to hold the government accountable for our resources and how they're being spent, right? So I'll give an example of the Constituency Development Fund, the CDF.
Yes.
So these are supposed to empower the constituencies, people in those communities. So 60% of that goes to the constituency, and 5% in that 60% is for disaster contingency. 20% is given to the youth and the women, and the 20% is for schools and bursaries and things like that, right? So now the importance of that is for the development of the communities. If the youth are not concerned, then we have a problem, because that CDF is there for you. And I think in the 2023 budget, we have, I think, over 20 million allocated to CDF for each constituency.
Yes.
Right? But we've been hearing stories last year, the year before, that people are paying for them to apply for CDF in their own constituency. Why?
Wait. Say that again. People are what?
They have to pay
to apply for CDF. Why do they have to pay?
For them to be afforded an opportunity to take part to money that is allocated for them in the first place.
Because why? Is that a government requirement, or some people are being funny?
It's not a government requirement, because people are being funny and they like to do that. Why? Greed, poverty. People feel that, oh, now I'm handling these huge sums, so you have to give me something before I can put in a good word for you, for your name to be, considered, so that we can give you this grant. It makes no sense. So for us, it starts with information and spreading it all over the country, right? It also adds in us to the mindset, and I'll keep re-emphasizing that, because
mindset.
We can tell people do A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, but if their minds are not in sync or in tune to accept what we're telling them, everything will fall on dead ears, and that would be very, very unfortunate. So what we're doing is, through social media, on the ground in our communities, with our youth leaders in their provinces, we are going in the grounds, educating, informing people about corruption, the youth fighting it, why it is important for us to fight it, and how we can fight it together. The thing with corruption is, because it is a cancer, I can take I can do my part in fighting corruption. But if my neighbor doesn't do that, my efforts go to waste. It's a collective.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to be a collective action where we work hand in hand in order for us to see a better Zambia. I don't know if it's just me, but it really hurts my soul to know that I can have 3 meals in a day. I'm really privileged, and I thank God and my father, and the fact that I've been educated. I can go out there, and I've been afforded some opportunities where I can provide for myself financially. But that's not the case for everyone. Not all of us are born in situations where we can financially cope and take care of ourselves. Some of us just fight for needs in a day. I just
Yeah,
want to
that's
eat.
true.
And
Yeah.
some people can't afford that.
And
So
to get those needs, they attach that element of, you know, you need to do something before I
yeah.
can even sort of respond to your need.
Mhm.
You brought out a very important point. That issue of people paying to apply for CDF. Trust me, I'm gonna take it up.
You should.
I am going to take it up. As far as
Please
I'm
do.
concerned, this new Dawn government, there is transparency at every level. You'll be
Mhm.
hearing from me very shortly. Hi, John.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi,
let's
John.
try it. Okay, that's better now. So, what unique activities have happened so far in your province since this project began?
Well, I must say that the pilot workshop uh, really boosted us.
Mm-hmm.
The training was so amazing, such that after the workshop that we had in Lusaka, that was last year, when we got back to our provinces, let me speak particularly in my province, Western Province.
Mm-hmm.
We came up with an event which we set as the launching of our activities in Mongu, Western
Okay.
Province. That was on 1st January 2023. So we came up with this event. We called it as a fundraising event. It was a fundraising party or a fundraising event, and the
You were
theme for the
fundraising
event was
for what were you fundraising for?
we know to say this time around, everything is still being put in place in terms of finances to support this project. Now, as youths, as concerned youths, we couldn't just sit back and
Mm-hmm.
wait until the time when the funds are going to be ready for us to venture now into the main activity that we need to do. So we came up with this activity so that the little movements that we'll be having, like maybe visiting the schools, visiting some communities, to just get an interaction with them and also sensitize them on corruption matters. We had to come up with this so that the little resources that we are going to fundraise at that point or at that event were going to assist us at least with our immediate needs that we need, instead of us waiting for the partners to fund in the project so that we can begin. Because we know to say the more we wait, the more we are wasting time. And corruption itself does not wait until we get all the funds we need for us to venture into the fight. But it's a continuous thing. The more we wait, the more we waste time. So we came up with this activity so that whatever we are going to realize from the event, then that will help us to facilitate some certain things that we need, in as much as we take the issue of corruption outside our province. So the event was great. It was celebrated under the theme "Share with Your Home." Start with your home and share with your neighbor on corruption fight. The reason
Okay.
why we came up with that theme was that certain things, or let me simply say, corruption actually starts also from our homes, and then it goes outreach. There are some certain
Mm.
corrupt issues or activities that takes place in our very own homes, but we just tend to
Yes.
ignore them. We think as if maybe it's normal. We take them as normal to say, we might see that this is wrong, but we just take it as a normal thing. And then once children, children are very much adaptive to anything they might learn. So once children just get adapted to such environment or such living, then of course they'll need or they'll want to experiment whatsoever they are seeing in their own homes, taking them outside there. So that, which is the reason why we came up with that theme to say, start with your home and share with your neighbor on corruption fight, so that
Mm.
all together we can move along as a community, starting from our very own homes. So that same event, it was we launched our activities in Mongo Western Province on the same day, and the event was officiated by ACC regional manager,
Okay.
also the regional commander for Drug Enforcement Commission DEC, and the provincial coordinator under Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts. Those were the people that officiated the event. Also, we had in attendance the NGO Forum chairperson for Western Province, who also came. Then
Okay.
we had about something youths that came to attend the same event. So it was an amazing experience. That was the
Let me ask
beginning
you
of
this.
our activities.
I did ask Natasha this question whilst you were trying to sort out your technical issues. Some specific trouble areas, John, regarding corruption can be a job offer, okay, in return for something. A school place for a child, okay? Somebody, I know this education is free now, but I just learned that CDF, now you have to pay for you to make an application. Getting contracts from government or parastat organization, troublesome areas. What should a young person do when they face such a situation?
There are two things, as I'll name it there. There are two things on that concept, on that question that you've asked. First of all, there is being qualified for the job. And also, the second is that not being qualified for that particular job. So I'll start with being qualified for that particular job. If you know to say, I qualify for this job, but then the employer demands for something in return, it's very much, of course, it may look as if maybe we are just trying to waste your time when you ignore that, or maybe when you leave out that. But then, by going ahead in accepting the request from an employer, whereby you bribe him or you give him something that is in exchange for giving you that particular job, it's not helping us. It's not helping in a sense that the same activity, the same mindset will continue in the mind of an employer and also in the mind of you who has been employed. So take for instance, if I accept, if I look for a job and then my employer tells me to say, no, you need to give me some money so that I can give you this job. Because I'm desperate, I'll go ahead and get that man
That's
and give
exactly
the
the
employer the money.
situation, desperation. And
Yes,
then here's
yes.
the thing, John, just give me one moment. Here's the thing. The issue of qualification in Zambia, in most cases, doesn't arise because we have so many degree holders who are unemployed, who are at Soweto Market, who are at Chisokone Market, degree holders, you know that, degree holders. So that is very important because I'll tell you what, the point that you have raised, and I'm glad that ZLA came up with this concept and in partnership with all these organizations, shifting mindsets. Dr. Frida will recall in one of our conversations I had with her when this government was just elected, Dr. Frida and I were talking, and this is what we say to each other, Natasha, John, all your provincial leaders. The biggest job the president has is, guess what? Changing the mindsets of the people. You see, that's the fight that he's facing right now. It's not, it's mindset. Okay, it's mindset. What we do in our homes is very critical. And I'm glad both of you have alluded to this thing Miss Priska is saying. We have to be careful what we do in front of our kids.
Absolutely.
We have to be very
Yes,
careful what we do in front of our kids. It's very important. Those of us who preach, I always say this to people. Those gossip conversations you're having on your cell phone and your kids are listening, you don't know what message you are pushing against. My time is up. Let's conclude this conversation by this. The pilot project, the pilot meeting or seminar, what's the right word, that you had, I want both of you to respond to this. What did you individually take away from that meeting that took place in Lusaka on 30th November to 2nd November? I'll start with you, John, very briefly.
I think with me, I came to realize to say corruption, indeed, I need to take keen interest because it's a pandemic, it's a cancer that has consumed me from way back because I never used to take it so serious. Just like you were saying to say it's the issue of mindset change. I think by then I used to see corruption in different way because of my mind. But after the workshop, I became more equipped with how I should think in regards to corruption.
Excellent.
Because it's something that will endanger my current situation, my future, and even that of my kids to come. So it's for this reason why me with my colleagues in the province, we are busy on the forefront, trying to push so that our colleagues also can be enlightened with the importance of fighting corruption at this age where we are now.
That's good. Good. Natasha, what did you take away from her? And for those who are interested in partnering with Natasha and whatever she's doing, that's her email right there. I'm sure it's correct.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So if you want to get in touch with Natasha about the sanitary pad projects and whatever else you heard her say, that's her email. Get in touch. So Natasha, finally, what did you take away from the pilot meeting that was held last year?
Thank you so much. So like I mentioned earlier, there's so much that we learned. We learned starting from Zambian culture all the way down to entrepreneurship, innovation, and fighting corruption and what it is. But my main takeaway, what I can say is that corruption, the fight against corruption is like a building block, right? So you put a brick here, brick here, brick here. You take out one brick, it falls down. You take another one, it keeps going down. Corruption affects each and every one of us. And the only way we can start to really fight it is when everyone is in sync. And that is why we're emphasizing on the shifting of mindsets. I'm grateful for the team like ZLA and yourself, Mr. Nkama, for giving us such an opportunity to speak about it. And I'm also grateful to the government. Mr. Fumbachama, the PS of Minister of Sports and Youth, also is helping us fight against corruption. So I'm grateful for that, to also be part of the Mzambi organization who support me in the fight against corruption. So it's going to take collective action, collective manpower for us to really get rid of this evil, that if we do and when we do, that each and every Zambian will have easy access to basic needs, and that is all what we need. We need to get to a point where
We need to get to a point where
we start running running. No, cannot after over 50 years still saying we're a developing nation. Corruption is one of the reasons why we still call ourselves a developing nation.
Yeah,
so we need to start fighting, and we need to curb it, and we need to become an emerging economy until we solidify ourselves in the global system where we can even start sending out aid. Why should we always receive aid and grant a humanitarian aid and those things? So that was my main takeaway. The fight against corruption, collective action.
Excellent. All right, everybody, that was our show for today. I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yes.
We need to do this again. I'll get with Miss Frida Nabachand and everybody involved in this, and so that we need to do something about this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our show today. We were speaking with Miss Natasha Mapulanga, Miss Zambia. She's the ambassador for youth fighting corruption and a youth leader from Mongu. John, thanks for joining us. Although the New Dawn government did you bad on the Wi-Fi, we're gonna get to the bottom of that thing about people paying to apply for the for the CDF. It's not supposed to be happening. Like that.
There were reports last year, there were reports the year before that in some constituencies, corruption through CDF was there and people were being asked to pay.
I'm going to get with you. You're going to tell me where that is happening, and we shall get to the bottom of this. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Please share this link for anybody who didn't listen to the live broadcast and they need to participate in the fight against corruption. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Do you want to promote your business on Zander Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zander Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zander Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.